to I guess it was a campaign committee meeting for Mr. Michael a few weeks ago in an attempt to maybe find out more about him. And his daughter was there and was gracious enough to actually give me his direct number. So I've called Mr. Michael and he's been generous enough to come tonight and speak to us. But I thought I might offer just a little bit about myself and why I've done this to start with. I'm not here to represent Mr. Michael and he probably doesn't want my endorsement. Perhaps he does. I'll let him reserve that for himself. But I'm not here to represent him or the city or any organization. I'm unaffiliated with any groups for the purpose of this meeting tonight. But I did want to provide a forum where we could learn more about Mr. Michael. I know I was interested. I figured that most people probably were interested in the gubernatorial race, and so I'm grateful that Mr. Michael has been generous with his time and come here tonight. Mr. Will Davis, the mayor of our great city here, will also address us. But I guess part of my concern is that over the past couple of years, I think that anyone can recognize that there's a palpable tension in our country right now, and I don't think that it's very partisan. I think that across the board, people are pretty upset and pretty frustrated. And the great flaw that I see, just me, Joe Blow, is that a lot of this tension and frustration is being carried out in the form of tea parties and protests and rallies. And at the end of the day, I'm not exactly sure how much those accomplish. I know that people are still angry, and there's not a whole lot being done. And so probably the best way I could put it is the purpose of this meeting is to provide actual information and action steps that we can take as informed citizens to better represent ourselves and have our representatives better represent us in the political process and at the various levels that they represent us. On this day, 236 years ago, there were two ships that were trying to enter Boston Harbor, and they were trying to unload their tea, and the citizens of Boston refused to let them unload. And the British soldiers who were occupying Boston Harbor and the city of Boston refused to let the two ships leave without taxing them. And on that day, maybe the first shot of the Revolutionary War was fought in the Boston Tea Party. And history kind of will speak for itself and what happened after that. But I think that the greatest step that we can all take is to be better informed, to get ourselves educated. I think it goes without saying that most people would choose to be entertained rather than informed. But an informed citizen is a dangerous person. And Samuel Adams, at that famous Boston Tea Party, said that it does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate and informed minority willing to set brush fires in people's minds. And I think that's where we need to start. Before we get out our pitchforks and torches and rush into the streets, we need to have a clue of what has happened, the real history, and what we're going to do if we are ever privileged enough to get people in office that truly represent us. And so I don't, I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy. I don't know much about anything. I am concerned though. I'm concerned that and my children aren't going to get to grow up and live in the same America that my parents and my grandparents got, and that concerns me a great deal. And I get emotional about it. But here's the thing: is before this thing culminates in violence, I think that there's obviously a peaceful revolution that needs to take place. A revolution of love, a revolution of ideas. And we need to re-find ourselves as a country. And I think that needs to start with each one of us figuring out for certain what our own philosophical principles are so that we can cut through the proverbial nonsense with the various politicians with a machete And we have a tendency to compare politician against politician, whereas we should be comparing politician against the Constitution, whether that be the United States Constitution or the Wyoming Constitution. We need to get back to those roots, and we need to probably turn off the television and start reading some books, and maybe have an open conversation. You know, everyone always says you can't talk about politics and religion. I've kind of been cursed, I guess, in a way that those are really the only two things I care about, so no one wants to talk to me. But, you know what, we need to have those conversations. The Founding Fathers were great at that, and it's no secret that a lot of them weren't, you know, the greatest of friends. Some of them were very much political enemies, but they hammered out the Constitution together because they knew where they stood, because they had read, you know, Montesquieu and Cicero, and they had read the political thinkers, and they weren't so concerned about what the pundits were saying. And so I suppose that's the greatest purpose and the greatest thing that we could accomplish here tonight is start, if you haven't already, start on that little on that journey, and become better acquainted with where we personally stand, so that we're not swayed by who's standing in front of you at that time, kind of like in an animal farm, you know, whichever group of animals was listening to the guy speak, and that's who they were in love with at the time. It's no secret that the media, the mainstream media, has an agenda. I mean, they're there to get ratings, and so they're going to push whatever they think is going to get the highest and the best ratings, and that tends to sway people one way or another. But there are a lot of great books out there. There's a lot of great websites, and there's groups of people like this, I think, beginning to gather across the country. But I'm aware that you didn't come here to hear from me tonight. But I thought that I'd offer my 2 cents, seeing as how my name has been affiliated with this. But we'll have Mayor Davis speak directly after me, and I'll let both Mayor Davis and Mr. Michael introduce themselves and kind of let you know what they're here to speak about. But just by way of information, I'll leave some flyers at the back of the room that I personally, no one else is behind this, it's just me, has a list of books and a list of websites that I visit that I think have been really helpful in getting to the heart of the matter on these philosophical principles, like I said. But we'll go ahead and hear from Mr. Davis. Thanks.